Prior to the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century, the Inca ruled northern Chile for nearly a century while an indigenous people, the Mapuche, inhabited central and southern Chile. Although Chile declared its independence in 1810, it did not achieve decisive victory over the Spanish until 1818. In the War of the Pacific, 1879–83, Chile defeated Peru and Bolivia to win its present northern regions. In the 1880s, the Chilean central government gained control over the central and southern regions inhabited by the Mapuche. After a series of elected governments, the three-year-old Marxist government of Salvador Allende was overthrown in 1973 by a military coup led by General Augusto Pinochet, who ruled until a democratically elected president was inaugurated in 1990. Economic reforms, maintained consistently since the 1980s, contributed to steady growth, reduced poverty rates by over half, and helped secure country's commitment to democratic and representative government. Chile has increasingly assumed regional and international leadership roles befitting its status as a stable, democratic nation.
Chile summary.
Adobe PDF.
Geography.
Chile.
Location: Southern South America, bordering the South Pacific Ocean, between Argentina and Peru.
Geographic coordinates: 30:00S, 71:00W.
Map references: South America.
Area total:
756,102 square kilometers.
Land:
743,812 square kilometers.
Water:
12,290 square kilometers.
Note:
includes Easter Island, Isla de Pascua, and Isla Sala y Gomez.
Country comparison to the world:
39.
Area comparative: slightly smaller than twice the size of Montana.
Area comparison map.
Area comparison map.
Land boundaries total:
7,801 kilometers.
Border countries: 3.
Argentina 6,691 kilometers, Bolivia 942 kilometers, Peru 168 kilometers.
Coastline: 6,435 kilometers.
Maritime claims: territorial sea
12.
Exclusive economic zone
200.
Contiguous zone
24.
Continental shelf
200/315.
Climate: temperate, desert in north, Mediterranean in central region, cool and damp in south.
Terrain: low coastal mountains, fertile central valley, rugged Andes in east.
Elevation: mean elevation
1,871 m.
Lowest point:
Pacific Ocean 0 m.
Highest point:
Nevado Ojos del Salado 6,880 m.
Natural resources: copper, timber, iron ore, nitrates, precious metals, molybdenum, hydropower.
Land use: agricultural land,
21.1%,
arable land,
1.7%, permanent crops,
0.6%, /permanent pasture,
18.8%,
forest,
21.9%,
other,
57%.
irrigated land, 11,100 square kilometers.
Population distribution: 90% of the population is located in the middle third of the country around the capital of Santiago. The far north, anchored by the Atacama Desert, and the extreme south are relatively underpopulated.
Natural hazards: severe earthquakes, active volcanism, tsunamis.
Volcanism:
Significant volcanic activity due to more than 3 dozen active volcanoes along the Andes Mountains. Lascar, 5,592 m, which last erupted in 2007, is the most active volcano in the northern Chilean Andes. Lema, 3,125 m, in central Chile, which last erupted in 2009, is another of the country's most active. Chaiteen's 2008 eruption forced major evacuations. Other notable historically active volcanoes include Cerro, Hudson, Calbuco, Copihu, Gualatari, Lalaco, Nevados de Chillán, Payahu, San Pedro, and Villarrica. See Note 2 under Geography. Note:
Environment, current issues: air pollution from industrial and vehicle emissions, water pollution from raw sewage, noise pollution, improper garbage disposal, soil degradation, widespread deforestation and mining threaten the environment. Wildlife conservation.
Environment, international agreements, Party 2.
Antarctic Environmental Protocol, Antarctic Marine Living Resources, Antarctic Seals, Antarctic Treaty, Biodiversity, Climate Change Kyoto Protocol, Desertification, Endangered Species, Environmental Modification, Hazardous Wastes, law of the sea, marine dumping, ozone layer protection, ship pollution, wetlands, whaling.
Signed, but not ratified.
None of the selected agreements.
Geography. Note 1.
The longest north-south trending country in the world, extending across 39 degrees of latitude, strategic location relative to sea lanes between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, Strait of Magellan, Beagle Channel, Drake Passage.
Note 2.
Chile is one of the countries along the Ring of Fire, a belt of active volcanoes and earthquake epicenters bordering the Pacific Ocean. Up to 90% of the world's earthquakes and some 75% of the world's volcanoes occur within the Ring of Fire.
Note 3.
The Atacama Desert, the driest desert in the world, spreads across the northern part of the country. Ajos del Salado, 6,893 meters, in the Atacama Desert is the highest active volcano in the world, Chile's tallest mountain, and the second highest in the Western Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere. Its small crater lake, at 6,390 meters, is the world's highest lake.
People and society.
Chile.
Population 17,925,262.
Country comparison to the world.
65.
Nationality, noun.
Chilean. S.
Adjective.
Chilean.
Ethnic groups, white and non-indigenous 88.9%, Mapuche 9.1%, Aymara 0.7%, other indigenous groups 1%, includes Rapa Nui, Lican Anti, Quechua, Kala, Diaguita, Cauca, Yaganoyamana, unspecified 0.3%.
Languages: Spanish 99.5%, official, English 10.2%, indigenous 1%, includes Mapudungun, Aymara, Quechua, Rapa Nui, other 2.3%, unspecified 0.2%.
Note:
Shares some to more than 100% because some respondents gave more than one answer on the census.
Religions: Roman Catholic 66.7%, Evangelical or Protestant 16.4%, Jehovah's Witness 1%, other 3.4%, none 11.5%, unspecified 1.1%.
Demographic profile: Chile is in the advanced stages of demographic transition and is becoming an aging society, with fertility below replacement level, low mortality rates, and life expectancy on par with developed countries. Nevertheless, with its dependency ratio nearing its low point, Chile could benefit from its favorable age structure. It will need to keep its large working age population productively employed, while preparing to provide for the needs of its growing proportion of elderly people, especially as women, the traditional caregivers, increasingly enter the workforce. Over the last decades, Chile has made great strides in reducing its poverty rate, which is now lower than most Latin American countries. However, its severe income inequality ranks as the worst among members of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Unequal access to quality education perpetuates this uneven income distribution.
Chile has historically been a country of emigration but has slowly become more attractive to immigrants since transitioning to democracy in 1990 and improving its economic stability. Other regional destinations have concurrently experienced deteriorating economic and political conditions. Most of Chile's small but growing foreign-born population consists of transplants from other Latin American countries, especially Peru.
Age structure: 0 to 14 years.
19.98%, male 1,827,657, female 1,754,253.
15 to 24 years.
14.63%, male 1,337,663, female 1,285,514.
25 to 54 years.
42.94%, male 3,851,775, female 3,845,195.
55 to 64 years.
11.32%, male 957,872, female 1,070,975.
65 years and over.
11.13%, male 836,489, female 1,157,869.
Population pyramid.
Population pyramid.
Dependency ratios. Total dependency ratio:
45.5,
youth dependency ratio:
30.3,
Elderly dependency ratio.
15.2.
Potential support ratio.
6.6.
Median age, total.
34.8 years.
Male.
33.6 years.
Female.
36 years.
Country comparison to the world.
85.
Population growth rate, 0.75%.
Country comparison to the world.
135.
Birth rate, 13.4 births out of 1,000 population.
Country comparison to the world.
141.
Death rate, 6.3 deaths out of 1,000 population.
Country comparison to the world.
150.
Net migration rate, 0.3 migrants out of 1,000 population.
Country comparison to the world.
66.
Population distribution. 90% of the population is located in the middle third of the country around the capital of Santiago. The far north, anchored by the Atacama Desert, and the extreme south are relatively underpopulated.
Urbanization, urban population.
87.6% of total population.
Rate of urbanization.
0.87% annual rate of change.
Major urban areas, population. 6.68 million Santiago, capital, 967,000 Valparaiso, 857,000 Conception.
Sex ratio at birth.
1.04 male every 1 female.
0 to 14 years.
1.04 male every 1 female.
15 to 24 years.
1.04 male every 1 female.
25 to 54 years.
1 male every 1 female.
55 to 64 years.
0.89 male every 1 female.
65 years and over.
0.72 male every 1 female.
Total population.
0.97 male every 1 female.
Maternal mortality rate. 22 deaths/100,000 live births.
Country comparison to the world.
128.
Infant mortality rate. Total.
6.4 deaths out of 1,000 live births.
Male.
6.9 deaths out of 1,000 live births.
Female.
6 deaths out of 1,000 live births.
Country comparison to the world.
163.
Life expectancy at birth. Total population.
79.1 years.
Male.
76 years.
Female.
82.2 years.
Country comparison to the world.
51.
Total fertility rate. 1.79 children born. Woman.
Country comparison to the world.
148.
Contraceptive prevalence rate. 76.3%. 2015 to 16.
Health expenditures, 7.8% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
58.
Physicians density. 1.03 physicians out of 1,000 population.
Hospital bed density, 2.2 beds out of 1,000 population.
Drinking water source. Improved.
Urban.
99.7% of population.
Rural.
93.3% of population.
Total.
99% of population.
Unimproved.
Urban.
0.3% of population.
Rural.
6.7% of population.
Total.
1% of population.
Sanitation facility access. Improved.
Urban.
100% of population.
Rural.
90.9% of population.
Total.
99.1% of population.
Unimproved.
Urban.
0% of population.
Rural.
9.1% of population.
Total.
0.9% of population.
HIV/AIDS adult prevalence rate 0.6%.
Country comparison to the world.
57.
HIV/AIDS, people living with HIV/AIDS, 67,000.
Country comparison to the world.
53.
HIV/AIDS deaths, NAR.
Obesity, adult prevalence rate, 28%.
Country comparison to the world.
32.
Children under the age of 5 years underweight, 0.5%.
Country comparison to the world.
125.
Education expenditures, 4.9% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
79.
Literacy, definition.
Age 15 and over can read and write.
Total population.
96.9%.
Male.
97%.
Female.
96.7%.
School life expectancy. Primary to tertiary education. Total.
16 years.
Male.
16 years.
Female.
17 years.
Unemployment. Youth ages 15 to 24. Total.
17.2%.
Male.
16.1%.
Female.
18.8%.
Country comparison to the world.
78.
Government.
Chile.
Country name, conventional long form.
Republic of Chile.
Conventional short form.
Chile.
Local long form.
República de Chile.
Local short form.
Chile.
Etymology.
Derivation of the name is unclear, but it may come from the Mapuche word Chile meaning limit of the earth or from the Quechua Chiri meaning cold.
Government type, presidential republic.
Capital, name.
Santiago. Note, Valparaiso is the seat of the national legislature.
Geographic coordinates.
3327 S, 7040 Watt.
Time difference.
At 3, 2 hours ahead of Washington, D.C., during standard time.
Daylight saving time.
+1 begins second Sunday in August, ends second Sunday in May. Note, Punta Arenas observes DST throughout the year.
Note,
Chile has 3 time zones.
the continental portion at UTC-3, the southern Magallanes region, which does not use daylight savings time and remains at UTC-3 for the summer months, and Easter Island at UTC-5.
Administrative divisions, 16 regions, Regina, singular, region, Asen, Antofagasta, Araucania, Arakawa-Parinacota, Atacama, Biobío, Coquimbo, Libertador General Bernardo O'Higgins, Los Lagos, Los Rios, Magallanes y de la Antártica Chilena, Magallanes and Chilean Antarctica, Mul, Nubble, Region Metropolitana, Santiago, Tarapacá, Valparaiso.
Note,
the U.S. does not recognize any claims to Antarctica.
Independence, the 18th of September 1810, from Spain.
National holiday, Independence Day, the 18th of September, 1810.
Constitution, history.
Many previous, latest adopted the 11th of September 1980, effective the 11th of March 1981. Note, in March 2018, days before her term ended, President Bachelet sent a proposal for a new constitution to the National Congress, but has not been pursued by her successor.
Amendments.
Proposed by members of either House of the National Congress or by the President of the Republic. Passage requires at least 3/5 majority vote of the membership in both houses and approval by the President. Passage of amendments to constitutional articles such as the Republican form of government, basic rights and freedoms, the Constitutional Tribunal, electoral justice, the Council of National Security, or the constitutional amendment process requires at least 2/3 majority vote by both houses of Congress and approval by the President. The President can opt to hold a referendum when Congress and the President disagree on an amendment, amended many times, last in 2017, with pending legislation to amend.
Legal system. Civil law system influenced by several West European civil legal systems. Judicial review of legislative acts by the Constitutional Tribunal.
International Law Organization participation has not submitted an ICJ jurisdiction declaration. Accepts SIC jurisdiction.
Citizenship. Citizenship by birth.
Yes.
Citizenship by descent only.
Yes.
Dual citizenship recognized.
Yes.
Residency requirement for naturalization.
5 years.
Suffrage. 18 years of age. Universal.
Executive branch. Chief of State.
President Sebastián Pinera, since the 11th of March 2018. Note. The President is both Chief of State and Head of Government.
Head of Government.
President Sebastián Pinera, since the 11th of March 2018.
Cabinet.
Cabinet appointed by the President.
Elections/appointments.
President directly elected by absolute majority popular vote in 2 rounds if needed for a single 4-year term. Election last held on the 19th of November 2017 with a runoff held the 17th of December 2017, next to be held in November 2021.
Election results.
Sebastián Pinera elected president in second round, percent of vote in first round. Sebastián Pinera, independent 36.6%, Alejandra Guillia, independent 22.7%, Beatriz Sanchez, independent 20.3%, Jose Antonio Cast, independent 7.9%, Carolina Goic, PDC 5.9%, Marco Enriquez Ominami, PRO 5.7%, other 0.9%, percent of vote in second round, Sebastián Pinera 54.6%, Alejandra Guillia 45.4%.
Legislative branch. Description.
Bicameral National Congress or Congreso Nacional consists of
Senate or Senado, 43 seats following the 2017 election, to increase to 50 in 2021, members directly elected in multi-seat constituencies by open party list proportional representation vote to serve 8-year terms with 1/2 of the membership renewed every 4 years.
Chamber of Deputies or Cámara de Diputados, 155 seats. Members directly elected in multi-seat constituencies by own party list proportional representation vote to serve 4-year terms.
Elections. Senate. Last held on the 19th of November 2017. Next to be held in 2021.
Chamber of Deputies. Last held on the 19th of November 2017. Next to be held in 2021.
Election results. Senate. Percent of vote by party. NAR. Seats by party. New Majority Coalition. Formerly known as Concertación, 19, 6, PS 6, 6, Mars 1, Let's Go Chile Coalition, formerly known as the Coalition for Change and the Alianza Coalition, 15, Run 6, UD 8, Amplitude Party 1, Independent 4, Composition, Men 33, Women 10, percent of women 23.3%.
Chamber of Deputies, percent of vote by party, NA, seats by party, New Majority 68, PDC 21, PS 16, PPD 14, PC 6, PRSD 6, Citizen Left 1, Independent 4, Coalition for Change 47, UD 29, RN 14, Independent 3, EP 1, Liberal Party 1, Independent 4, Composition Men 120, Women 35, percent of women 22.6%, Note. Total National Congress percent of women 22.7%.
Judicial branch. Highest courts.
Supreme Court or Corte Suprema, consists of a court president and 20 members or ministros. Constitutional Court, consists of 10 members. Elections Qualifying Court, consists of 5 members.
Judge selection in term of office.
Supreme Court President and judges, ministers, appointed by the President of the Republic and ratified by the Senate from lists of candidates provided by the court itself. Judges appointed for life with mandatory retirement at age 70. Constitutional Court members appointed, 3 by the Supreme Court, 3 by the President of the Republic, 2 by the Chamber of Deputies, and 2 by the Senate. Members serve 9-year terms with partial membership replacement every 3 years. The court reviews constitutionality of legislation. Elections Qualifying Court members appointed by lottery. 1 by the former President or Vice President of the Senate and 1 by the former President or Vice President of the Chamber of Deputies, 2 by the Supreme Court, and 1 by the Appellate Court of Valparaiso. Members appointed for 4-year terms.
Subordinate courts.
Courts of Appeal, oral criminal tribunals, military tribunals, local police courts, specialized tribunals and courts in matters such as family, labor, customs, taxes, and electoral affairs.
Political parties and leaders. Amplitude. Lily Beres.
Broad Front Coalition, Frente Amplio, or FAR, includes Road, PL, PH, BEF, Igualdad, and Boda, Beatriz Sanchez.
Broad Social Movement of Leftist Citizens, includes former Mars and Izquierda Ciudadana, Fernando Zamorano.
Christian Democratic Party or BDC, Fuad Jahin.
Citizen Power. PODA, Corina Oliva.
Communist Party of Chile or PC, Guillermo Tilla del Val.
Democratic Revolution or RD, Rodrigo Echeca.
Equality Party, Igualdad, Guillermo Gonzalez.
Green Ecological Party or PV, Felix Gonzalez.
Humanist Party or BH, Octavio Gonzalez.
Independent Democratic Union or UDI, Jacqueline Van Rysselberg Herrera.
Independent Regionalist Democratic Party or PRI, Hugo Ortiz de Filippi.
Let's Go Chile Coalition, Chile Vamos, Sebastian Pinera, includes Eva Poli, PRI, UD.
Liberal Party, Partido Liberal de Chile, or PL, Luis Felipe Ramos.
National Renewal or RN, Mario Desbordes.
New Majority Coalition, with Moria, Michelle Bachelet, includes PDC, PC, PPD, PRSD, PS. Note, dissolved in March 2018.
Party for Democracy or PPD, Geraldo Munoz.
Political Evolution or Ivopoli, Hernan Larraín Matt.
Progressive Party or PRO, Camilo Lagos.
Radical Social Democratic Party or PRSD, Carlos Maldonado Curti.
Socialist Party or PS, Alvaro Elizalde Soto, formerly known as Concertación.
International Organization Participation, APEC, BIS, CAN, Associate, CD, SULUC, FAO, G15, G77, IADP, IAIA, IBRD, ICAO, ICC, National Committees, ICT, ICRM, IDA, IFAT, IFC, IFX, IO, ILO, IMF, IMO, IMSO, Interpol, IOC, IAM, IPU, ISO, ITSO, ITU, ITUC, NGOs, LS, LIA, Mercosur, Associate, MEGA, MINUSTER, NAM, OAS, ECT, Enhanced Engagement, OpenL, OPCW, Pacific Alliance, PCA, SICA, Observer, UN, UNRWA, UNCTAD, UNESCO, UNFICIP, UNHR, UNIDO, Union Latina, UNMOJIP, UNTSO, UNTO, UPU, WCO, WFTU, NGOs, WHO, WIPO, WMO, WTO.
Diplomatic representation in the U.S. Chief of Mission.
Ambassador Oscar Alfonso Sebastian Silva Navarro, since the 17th of September 2018.
Chancery.
1732 Massachusetts Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20036.
Telephone.
120278511746.
Fax.
120288755779.
Consulate. S. General.
Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, San Francisco.
Diplomatic representation from the U.S. Chief of Mission.
Ambassador Carol Perez, since the 14th of November 2016.
Embassy.
Avenida Andres Bello 2800, Las Cans, Santiago.
Mailing address.
Apo A34033.
Telephone.
56 2 2333,000.
Fax.
56 2 2333,710, 2333,160.
Flag description: two equal horizontal bands of white, top, and red, a blue square the same height as the white band at the hoist side end of the white band. The square bears a white five-pointed star in the center representing a guide to progress in honor. Blue symbolizes the sky, white is for the snow-covered Andes, and red represents the blood spilled to achieve independence.
Note:
design influenced by the U.S. flag.
National symbols: mule, mountain deer, Andean condor. National colors:
red, white, blue.
National anthem. Name:
Himno Nacional de Chile. National anthem of Chile.
Lyrics: music.
Eusebio Lilo Robles Empanado de Vera y Pintado / Ramon Carnes y Battle.
Note:
music adopted 1828. Original lyrics adopted 1818. Adapted lyrics adopted 1847. Under Augusto Pinochet's military rule, a verse glorifying the army was added. However, as a protest, some citizens refused to sing this verse. It was removed when democracy was restored in 1990.
Economy.
Chile.
Economy. Overview: Chile has a market-oriented economy characterized by a high level of foreign trade and a reputation for strong financial institutions and sound policy that have given it the strongest sovereign bond rating in South America. Exports of goods and services account for approximately one-third of GDP, with commodities making up some 60% of total exports. Copper is Chile's top export and provides 20% of government revenue.
From 2003 through 2013, real growth averaged almost 5% per year, despite a slight contraction in 2009 that resulted from the global financial crisis. Growth slowed to an estimated 1.4% in 2017. A continued drop in copper prices prompted Chile to experience its third consecutive year of slow growth.
Chile deepened its long-standing commitment to trade liberalization with the signing of a free trade agreement with the U.S., effective 1 January 2004. Chile has 26 trade agreements covering 60 countries including agreements with the EU, Mercosur, China, India, South Korea, and Mexico. In May 2010, Chile signed the ECT Convention, becoming the first South American country to join the ECT. In October 2015, Chile signed the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement, which was finalized as the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and signed at a ceremony in Chile in March 2018.
The Chilean government has generally followed a countercyclical fiscal policy, under which it accumulates surpluses in sovereign wealth funds during periods of high copper prices and economic growth, and generally allows deficit spending only during periods of low copper prices and growth. As of the 31st of October 2016, Those sovereign wealth funds, kept mostly outside the country and separate from central bank reserves, amounted to more than $23.5 billion. Chile used these funds to finance fiscal stimulus packages during the 2009 economic downturn.
In 2014, then-President Michelle Bachelet introduced tax reforms aimed at delivering her campaign promise to fight inequality and to provide access to education and health care. The reforms are expected to generate additional tax revenues equal to 3% of Chile's GDP, mostly by increasing corporate tax rates to act averages.
GDP, purchasing power parity, $452.1 billion.
$445.5 billion.
$439.9 billion.
Note.
Data in 2017 dollars.
Country comparison to the world.
44.
GDP, official exchange rate. $277 billion.
GDP, real growth rate, 1.5%.
1.3%.
2.3%.
Country comparison to the world.
170.
GDP, per capita. PPP, $24,600.
$24,500.
$24,400.
Note.
Data are in 2017 dollars.
Country comparison to the world.
82.
Gross national saving, 20.5% of GDP.
20.9% of GDP.
21.4% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
94.
GDP, composition, by end use. Household consumption.
62.3%.
Government consumption.
14%.
Investment in fixed capital.
21.5%.
Investment in inventories.
0.5%.
Exports of goods and services.
28.7%.
Imports of goods and services.
Minus 27%.
GDP, composition, by sector of origin. Agriculture.
4.2%.
Industry.
32.8%.
Services.
63%.
Agriculture, products, grapes, apples, pears, onions, wheat, corn, oats, peaches, garlic, asparagus, beans, beef, poultry, wool, fish, timber.
Industries, copper, lithium, other minerals, foodstuffs, fish processing, iron and steel, wood and wood products, transport equipment, cement, textiles.
Industrial production growth rate, minus 0.4%.
Country comparison to the world.
170.
Labor force, 8.881 million.
Country comparison to the world.
58.
Labor force, by occupation. Agriculture.
9.2%.
Industry.
23.7%.
Services.
67.1%.
Unemployment rate. 6.7%.
6.5%.
Country comparison to the world.
99.
Population below poverty line. 14.4%.
Household income or consumption by percentage share. Lowest 10%.
1.7%.
Highest 10%.
41.5%.
Distribution of family income. Gini index. 50.5.
57.1.
Country comparison to the world.
15.
Budget. Revenues.
57.75 billion.
Expenditures.
65.38 billion.
Taxes and other revenues. 20.8% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
145.
Budget surplus, plus, or deficit, dash, minus 2.8% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
124.
Public debt. 23.6% of GDP.
21% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
182.
Fiscal year. Calendar year.
Inflation rate, consumer prices. 2.2%.
3.8%.
Country comparison to the world.
113.
Central bank discount rate. 3.35%. The 31st of December 2015.
3%. The 31st of December 2014.
Country comparison to the world.
104.
Commercial bank prime lending rate. 4.6%.
5.59%.
Country comparison to the world.
156.
Stock of Naira money. $52.54 billion.
$44.01 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
53.
Stock of broad money. $52.54 billion.
$44.01 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
53.
Stock of domestic credit, $244.3 billion.
$211.6 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
43.
Market value of publicly traded shares, $190.4 billion.
$233.2 billion.
$265.2 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
35.
Current account balance, minus $4.102 billion.
Minus $3.484 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
178.
Exports, $69.23 billion.
$60.6 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
42.
Exports, partners, China 27.5%, US 14.5%, Japan 9.3%, South Korea 6.2%, Brazil 5%.
Exports, commodities, copper, fruit, fish products, paper and pulp, chemicals, wine.
Imports, $61.31 billion.
$55.29 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
49.
Imports, commodities, petroleum and petroleum products, chemicals, electrical and telecommunications equipment, industrial machinery, vehicles, natural gas.
Imports, partners, China 23.9%, US 18.1%, Brazil 8.6%, Argentina 4.5%, Germany 4%.
Reserves of foreign exchange and gold, $38.98 billion.
$40.49 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
44.
Debt, external, $183.4 billion.
$158.1 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
37.
Stock of direct foreign investment, at home, $206.2 billion.
$199.8 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
31.
Stock of direct foreign investment, abroad, $95.37 billion.
$90.54 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
36.
Exchange rates, Chilean pesos, CLP, per US dollar.
653.9.
676.94.
676.94.
658.93.
570.37.
Energy.
Chile.
Electricity access, population without electricity.
70,600.
Electrification, total population.
99.6%.
Electrification, urban areas.
100%.
Electrification, rural areas.
98%.
Electricity, production, 76.09 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
39.
Electricity, consumption, 73.22 billion kWh.
Country comparison to the world.
38.
Electricity, exports, 0 kilowatt hours.
Country comparison to the world.
121.
Electricity, imports, 0 kilowatt hours.
Country comparison to the world.
135.
Electricity, installed generating capacity, 24.53 million.
Country comparison to the world.
37.
Electricity, from fossil fuels, 59% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
133.
Electricity, from nuclear fuels, 0% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
66.
Electricity, from hydroelectric plants, 26% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
75.
Electricity, from other renewable sources, 15% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
57.
Crude oil, production, 3,244 barrel, day.
Country comparison to the world.
83.
Crude oil, exports, 0 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
106.
Crude oil, imports, 169,600 barrel, day.
Country comparison to the world.
33.
Crude oil, proved reserves, 150 million barrels.
Country comparison to the world.
60.
Refined petroleum products, production, 216,200 barrel, day.
Country comparison to the world.
49.
Refined petroleum products, consumption, 354,500 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
39.
Refined petroleum products, exports, 7,359 barrel, day.
Country comparison to the world.
87.
Refined petroleum products. Imports 166,400 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
38.
Natural gas. Production 1.218 billion cubic meters.
Country comparison to the world.
65.
Natural gas consumption 5.125 billion qm.
Country comparison to the world.
58.
Natural gas. Exports 277.5 million cubic meters.
Country comparison to the world.
43.
Natural gas imports 4.446 billion qm.
Country comparison to the world.
38.
Natural gas. Proved reserves 97.97 billion cubic meters.
Country comparison to the world.
52.
Carbon dioxide emissions from consumption of energy 88.23 million.
Country comparison to the world.
47.
Communications.
Chile
Telephones, fixed lines, total subscriptions.
3,193,131.
Subscriptions per 100 inhabitants.
18.
Country comparison to the world.
43.
Telephones, mobile cellular, total subscriptions.
23,013,147.
Subscriptions per 100 inhabitants.
129.
Country comparison to the world.
53.
Telephone system, general assessment.
Privatization began in 1988. Most advanced telecommunications infrastructure in South America. Modern system based on extensive microwave radio relay facilities. Although Chile has one of the highest mobile penetration rates in the region, the number of subscribers has fallen due to subscribers ending multiple SIM card use. This downward trend is expected to be halted in 2018 as the availability of LTE networks and services broaden. In terms of available broadband speeds, the country ranks second highest in South and Central America.
Domestic.
Number of fixed line connections have stagnated to 18 per 100 in recent years as mobile cellular usage continues to increase, reaching 130 telephones per 100 persons. Domestic satellite system with 3 Earth stations.
International.
Country code -56. Landing points for the Pan-American, South America 1, and South American crossing/Latin American Nautilus submarine cables providing links to the US and to Central and South America. Satellite Earth stations -to Intelsat, Atlantic Ocean.
Broadcast media, national and local terrestrial TV channels, coupled with extensive cable TV networks, the state-owned Television Nacional de Chile, TVN, network is self-financed through commercial advertising revenues and is not under direct government control. Large number of privately owned TV stations, about 250 radio stations.
Internet country code .quil.
Internet users, total
11,650,840.
% of population.
66%.
Country comparison to the world.
46.
Broadband. Fixed subscriptions, total
3,058,979.
subscriptions per 100 inhabitants.
17.
Country comparison to the world.
40.
Transportation.
Chile.
National air transport system. Number of registered air carriers.
9.
Inventory of registered aircraft operated by air carriers.
173.
Annual passenger traffic on registered air carriers.
15,006,762.
Annual freight traffic on registered air carriers.
1,392,236,000.
Civil aircraft registration country code prefix, CC.
Airports 481.
Country comparison to the world.
15.
Airports, with paved runways, total
90.
over 3,047 meters.
5.
2,438 to 3,047 meters.
7.
1,524 to 2,437 meters.
23.
914 to 1,523 meters.
31.
Under 914 meters.
24.
Airports, with unpaved runways, total
391.
2,438 to 3,047 meters.
5.
1,524 to 2,437 meters.
11.
914 to 1,523 meters.
56.
Under 914 meters.
319.
Heliports, 1.
Pipelines 3,160 kilometers gas. 781 kilometers liquid petroleum gas, 985 kilometers oil, 722 kilometers. Refined products,
Railways, total.
7,282 kilometers.
Narrow gauge.
3,853.5 1.000 m gauge.
Broad gauge.
3,428 kilometers. 1.676 m gauge. 1,691 kilometers. Electrified.
Country comparison to the world.
30.
Roadways, merchant marine.
Merchant marine may be defined as all ships engaged in the carriage of goods, or all commercial vessels, as opposed to all non-military ships, which excludes tugs, fishing vessels, offshore oil rigs, etc.
Total.
211.
By type.
Bulk carrier 10, container ship 5, general cargo 54, oil tanker 12, other 130.
Country comparison to the world.
64.
Ports and terminals, major seaports.
Coronel, Huasco, Lurquin, Puerto Ventunas, San Antonio, San Vicente, Valparaiso.
LNG terminals, import.
Medallones, Quintero.
Military and security.
Chile.
Military expenditures, 1.87% of GDP.
1.91% of GDP.
1.96% of GDP.
1.99% of GDP.
2.05% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
55.
Military branches. Chilean Army, Chilean Navy, Armada de Chile, includes naval aviation, Marine Corps, and Maritime Territory. A Merchant Marine Directorate, Directama, Chilean Air Force, Fuerza Aérea de Chile, FACH.
Military service age and obligation. 1845 years of age for voluntary male and female military service. Although the right to compulsory recruitment of males 1845 is retained, service obligation is 12 months for Army and 22 months for Navy and Air Force.
Transnational issues.
Chile.
Disputes. International. Chile and Peru rebuff Bolivia's reactivated claim to restore the Atacama Corridor, ceded to Chile in 1884, but Chile has offered instead unrestricted but not sovereign maritime access through Chile to Bolivian natural gas. Chile rejects Peru's unilateral legislation to change its latitudinal maritime boundary with Chile to an equidistance line with the southwestern axis favoring Peru. In October 2007, Peru took its maritime complaint with Chile to the ICJ. Territorial claim in Antarctica. Chilean Antarctic Territory, partially overlaps Argentine and British claims. The Joint Boundary Commission, established by Chile and Argentina in 2001, has yet to map and demarcate the delimited boundary in the inhospitable Andean southern ice field, Campo de Hilo Sur.
Refugees and internally displaced persons. Refugees, country of origin.
211,082. Venezuela, economic and political crisis. Includes Venezuelans who have claimed asylum or have received alternative legal stay.
Chile, officially the Republic of Chile, Spanish, about this sound República de Chile, helpmiddle.info, is a South American country occupying a long, narrow strip of land between the Andes to the east and the Pacific Ocean to the west. It borders Peru to the north, Bolivia to the northeast, Argentina to the east, and the Drake Passage in the far south. Chilean territory includes the Pacific islands of Juan Fernandez, Salas y Gomez, Desventuradas, and Easter Island in Oceania. Chile also claims about 1,250,000 square kilometers, 480,000 square miles, of Antarctica, although all claims are suspended under the Antarctic Treaty. The arid Atacama Desert in northern Chile contains great mineral wealth, principally copper. The relatively small central area dominates in terms of population and agricultural resources, and is the cultural and political center from which Chile expanded in the late 19th century when it incorporated its northern and southern regions. Southern Chile is rich in forests and grazing lands, and features a string of volcanoes and lakes. The southern coast is a labyrinth of fjords, inlets, canals, twisting peninsulas, and islands. Spain conquered and colonized the region in the mid-16th century, replacing Inca rule in the north and center, but failing to conquer the independent Mapuche who inhabited what is now south-central Chile. After declaring its independence from Spain in 1818, Chile emerged in the 1830s as a relatively stable authoritarian republic. In the 19th century, Chile saw significant economic and territorial growth, ending Mapuche resistance in the 1880s and gaining its current northern territory in the War of the Pacific, 1879–83, after defeating Peru and Bolivia. In the 1960s and 1970s, the country experienced severe left-right political polarization and turmoil. This development culminated with the 1973 Chilean coup d'état that overthrew Salvador Allende's democratically elected left-wing government and instituted a 16-year-long right-wing military dictatorship that left more than 3,000 people dead or missing. The regime, headed by Augusto Pinochet, ended in 1990 after it lost a referendum in 1988 and was succeeded by a center-left coalition which ruled through 4 presidencies until 2010. The modern sovereign state of Chile is among South America's most economically and socially stable and prosperous nations, with a high-income economy and high living standards. It leads Latin American nations in rankings of human development, competitiveness, income per capita, globalization, state of peace, economic freedom, and low perception of corruption. It also ranks high regionally in sustainability of the state, and democratic development. Chile is a member of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, ECD, joining in 2010. Currently it also has the lowest homicide rate in South America. Chile is a founding member of the United Nations, the Union of South American Nations, UNASUR, and the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, SULAC. Etymology. There are various theories about the origin of the word Chile. According to 17th century Spanish chronicler Diego de Rosales, the Incas called the valley of the Aconcagua Chile by corruption of the name of a Picunch tribal chief, cacique, called Tili, who ruled the area at the time of the Incan conquest in the 15th century. Another theory points to the similarity of the valley of the Aconcagua with that of the Casma Valley in Peru, where there was a town and valley named Chile. Other theories say Chile may derive its name from a Native American word meaning either ends of the earth or seagulls, from the Mapuche word Chile, which may mean where the land ends, or from the Quechua chiri, cold, or Chile, meaning either snow or the deepest point of the earth. Another origin attributed to Chile is the onomatopoeic chil chil, the Mapuche imitation of the warble of a bird locally known as trille. The Spanish conquistadors heard about this name from the Incas, and the few survivors of Diego de Almagra's first Spanish expedition south from Peru in 1535–36 called themselves the Men of Chile. Ultimately, Almagro is credited with the universalization of the name Chile, after naming the Mapocho Valley as such. The older spelling Chile was in use in English until at least 1900 before switching to Chile. History. Early history. Stone tool evidence indicates humans sporadically frequented the Monte Verde Valley area as long as 18,500 years ago. About 10,000 years ago, migrating indigenous peoples settled in fertile valleys and coastal areas of what is present-day Chile. Settlement sites from very early human habitation include Monte Verde, Cueva del Milodon and the Palliate crater's lava tube. The Incas briefly extended their empire into what is now northern Chile, but the Mapuche, or Araucanians as they were known by the Spaniards, successfully resisted many attempts by the Inca Empire to subjugate them. Despite their lack of state organization, they fought against the Sapu Inca Tupac Yupanqui and his army. The result of the bloody 3-day confrontation known as the Battle of the Maule was that the Inca conquest of the territories of Chile ended at the Maule River. Spanish colonization. In 1520, while attempting to circumnavigate the globe, Ferdinand Magellan discovered the southern passage now named after him, the Strait of Magellan, thus becoming the first European to set foot on what is now Chile. The next Europeans to reach Chile were Diego de Almagro and his band of Spanish conquistadors, who came from Peru in 1535 seeking gold. The Spanish encountered various cultures that supported themselves principally through slash-and-burn agriculture and hunting. The conquest of Chile began in earnest in 1540 and was carried out by Pedro de Valdivia, one of Francisco Pizarro's lieutenants, who founded the city of Santiago on the 12th of February 1541. Although the Spanish did not find the extensive gold and silver they sought, they recognized the agricultural potential of Chile's Central Valley, and Chile became part of the Spanish Empire. Conquest took place gradually, and the Europeans suffered repeated setbacks. A massive Mapuche insurrection that began in 1553 resulted in Valdivia's death and the destruction of many of the colony's principal settlements. Subsequent major insurrections took place in 1598 and in 1655. Each time the Mapuche and other native groups revolted, the southern border of the colony was driven northward. The abolition of slavery by the Spanish crown in 1683 was done in recognition that enslaving the Mapuche intensified resistance rather than cowing them into submission. Despite royal prohibitions, relations remained strained from continual colonialist interference. Cut off to the north by desert, to the south by the Mapuche, to the east by the Andes Mountains, and to the west by the ocean, Chile became one of the most centralized, homogeneous colonies in Spanish America. Serving as a sort of frontier garrison, the colony found itself with the mission of forestalling encroachment by both the Mapuche and Spain's European enemies, especially the British and the Dutch. Buccaneers and English adventurers menaced the colony in addition to the Mapuche, as was shown by Sir Francis Drake's 1578 raid on Valparaiso, the colony's principal port. Chile hosted one of the largest standing armies in the Americas, making it one of the most militarized of the Spanish possessions, as well as a drain on the treasury of the Viceroyalty of Peru. The first general census was conducted by the government of Agustín de Jorge between 1777 and 1778. It indicated that the population consisted of 259,646 inhabitants. 73.5% of European descent, 7.9% mestizos, 8.6% indigenous peoples and 9.8% blacks. Francisco Hurtado, governor of the province of Chile, conducted a census in 1784 and found the population consisted of 26,703 inhabitants, 64.4% of whom were whites and 33.5% of whom were natives. The Diocese of Concepcion conducted a census in areas south of the Maule River in 1812, but did not include the indigenous population or the inhabitants of the province of Chile. The population is estimated at 210,567, 86.1% of whom were Spanish or of European descent, 10% of whom were indigenous and 3.7% of whom were mestizos, blacks and mulattoes. Independence and nation building. In 1808, Napoleon's enthronement of his brother Joseph as the Spanish king precipitated the drive by the colony for independence from Spain. A national junta in the name of Ferdinand, heir to the deposed king, was formed on the 18th of September 1810. The government junta of Chile proclaimed Chile an autonomous republic within the Spanish monarchy. In memory of this day, Chile celebrates its National Day on 18 September each year. After these events, a movement for total independence, under the command of José Miguel Carrera, one of the most renowned patriots, and his two brothers Juan José and Luis Carrera, soon gained a wider following. Spanish attempts to reimpose arbitrary rule during what was called the Reconquista led to a prolonged struggle, including infighting from Bernardo O'Higgins, who challenged Carrera's leadership. Intermittent warfare continued until 1817. With Carrera in prison in Argentina, O'Higgins and anti-Carrera cohort José de San Martin, hero of the Argentine War of Independence, led an army that crossed the Andes into Chile and defeated the Royalists. On the 12th of February 1818, Chile was proclaimed an independent republic. The political revolt brought little social change, however, and 19th century Chilean society preserved the essence of the stratified colonial social structure, which was greatly influenced by family politics and the Roman Catholic Church. A strong presidency eventually emerged, but wealthy landowners remained powerful. Chile slowly started to expand its influence and to establish its borders. By the Tanco Treaty, the archipelago of Chile was incorporated in 1826. The economy began to boom due to the discovery of silver ore in Charnesillo, and the growing trade of the port of Valparaiso, which led to conflict over maritime supremacy in the Pacific with Peru. At the same time, Attempts were made to strengthen sovereignty in southern Chile, intensifying penetration into Araucania and colonizing Lanquiu with German immigrants in 1848. Through the founding of Fort Bons by the schooner Raincoat under the command of John Williams Wilson, the Magallanes region joined the country in 1843, while the Antofagasta region, at the time part of Bolivia, began to fill with people. The Battle of Iquique on the 21st of May 1879. The victory of Chile in the War of the Pacific allowed its expansion into new territories. Toward the end of the 19th century, the government in Santiago consolidated its position in the south by the occupation of Araucania. The boundary treaty of 1881 between Chile and Argentina confirmed Chilean sovereignty over the Strait of Magellan. As a result of the War of the Pacific with Peru and Bolivia, 1879–83, Chile expanded its territory northward by almost one-third, eliminating Bolivia's access to the Pacific, and acquired valuable nitrate deposits, the exploitation of which led to an era of national affluence. Chile had joined the stand as one of the high-income countries in South America by 1870. The 1891 Chilean Civil War brought about a redistribution of power between the President and Congress, and Chile established a parliamentary-style democracy. However, the Civil War had also been a contest between those who favored the development of local industries and powerful Chilean banking interests, particularly the House of Edwards, who had strong ties to foreign investors. Soon after, the country engaged in a vastly expensive naval arms race with Argentina that nearly led to war. 20th century. The Chilean economy partially degenerated into a system protecting the interests of a ruling oligarchy. By the 1920s, the emerging middle and working classes were powerful enough to elect a reformist president, Arturo Alessandri, whose program was frustrated by a conservative Congress. In the 1920s, Marxist groups with strong popular support arose. A military coup led by General Luis Altamirano in 1924 set off a period of political instability that lasted until 1932. Of the 10 governments that held power in that period, the longest lasting was that of General Carlos Ibáñez del Campo, who briefly held power in 1925 and then again between 1927 and 1931 in what was a de facto dictatorship, although not really comparable in harshness or corruption to the type of military dictatorship that has often bedeviled the rest of Latin America. By relinquishing power to a democratically elected successor, Ibáñez del Campo retained the respect of a large enough segment of the population to remain a viable politician for more than 30 years, in spite of the vague and shifting nature of his ideology. When constitutional rule was restored in 1932, a strong middle-class party, the Radicals, emerged. It became the key force in coalition governments for the next 20 years. During the period of Radical Party dominance, 1932–52, the state increased its role in the economy. In 1952, voters returned Ibáñez del Campo to office for another 6 years. Jorge Alessandri succeeded Ibáñez del Campo in 1958, bringing Chilean conservatism back into power democratically for another term. The 1964 presidential election of Christian Democrat Eduardo Frei Montalva by an absolute majority initiated a period of major reform. Under the slogan "Revolution in Liberty," the Frei administration embarked on far-reaching social and economic programs, particularly in education, housing, and agrarian reform, including rural unionization of agricultural workers. By 1967, however, Frei encountered increasing opposition from leftists, who charged that his reforms were inadequate, and from conservatives, who found them excessive. At the end of his term, Frei had not fully achieved his party's ambitious goals. In the 1970 election, Senator Salvador Allende of the Socialist Party of Chile, then part of the Popular Unity Coalition, which included the Communists, Radicals, Social Democrats, Dissident Christian Democrats, the Popular Unitary Action Movement, and the Independent Popular Action, achieved a partial majority in a plurality of votes in a three-way contest, followed by candidates Radamiro Tomic for the Christian Democrat Party and Jorge Alessandri for the Conservative Party. Allende was not elected with an absolute majority. receiving fewer than 35% of votes. The Chilean Congress conducted a runoff vote between the leading candidates, Allende and former President Jorge Alessandri, and, keeping with tradition, chose Allende by a vote of 153 to 35. Frey refused to form an alliance with Alessandri to oppose Allende, on the grounds that the Christian Democrats were a workers' party and could not make common cause with the right wing. An economic depression that began in 1972 was exacerbated by capital flight, plummeting private investment, and withdrawal of bank deposits in response to Allende's socialist program. Production fell and unemployment rose. Allende adopted measures including price freezes, wage increases, and tax reforms, to increase consumer spending and redistribute income downward. Joint public works projects helped reduce unemployment. Much of the banking sector was nationalized. Many enterprises within the copper, coal, iron, nitrate, and steel industries were expropriated, nationalized, or subjected to state intervention. Industrial output increased sharply and unemployment fell during the Allende administration's first year. Allende's program included advancement of workers' interests, replacing the judicial system with socialist legality, nationalization of banks and forcing others to bankruptcy, and strengthening popular militias known as MIA. Started under former President Frey. The Popular Unity Platform also called for nationalization of Chile's major copper mines in the form of a constitutional amendment. The measure was passed unanimously by Congress. As a result, the Richard Nixon administration organized and inserted secret operatives in Chile, in order to swiftly destabilize Allende's government. In addition, U.S. financial pressure restricted international economic credit to Chile. The economic problems were also exacerbated by Allende's public spending, which was financed mostly by printing money and poor credit ratings given by commercial banks. Simultaneously, opposition media, politicians, business guilds and other organizations helped to accelerate a campaign of domestic political and economical destabilization, some of which was backed by the United States. By early 1973, inflation was out of control. The crippled economy was further battered by prolonged and sometimes simultaneous strikes by physicians, teachers, students, truck owners, copper workers, and the small business class. On the 26th of May 1973, Chile's Supreme Court, which was opposed to Allende's government, unanimously denounced the Allende disruption of the legality of the nation. Although illegal under the Chilean constitution, the court supported and strengthened Pinochet's soon-to-be seizure of power. Pinochet, 1973 to 1990. A military coup overthrew Allende on the 11th of September 1973. As the armed forces bombarded the presidential palace, Allende apparently committed suicide. After the coup, Henry Kissinger told U.S. President Richard Nixon that the United States had helped the coup. A military junta, led by General Augusto Pinochet, took control of the country. The first years of the regime were marked by human rights violations. Chile actively participated in Operation Condor. On October 1973, at least 72 people were murdered by the Caravan of Death. According to the Rettig Report and Vailach Commission, at least 2,115 were killed, and at least 27,265 were tortured, including 88 children younger than 12 years old. In 2011, Chile recognized an additional 9,800 victims, bringing the total number of killed, tortured or imprisoned for political reasons to 40,018. At the National Stadium, filled with detainees, one of those tortured and killed was internationally known poet-singer Victor Jara. See music and dance below. The stadium was renamed for Jara in 2003. A new constitution was approved by a controversial plebiscite on the 11th of September 1980, and General Pinochet became president of the republic for an 8-year term. After Pinochet obtained rule of the country, several hundred committed Chilean revolutionaries joined the Sandinista army in Nicaragua, guerrilla forces in Argentina or training camps in Cuba, Eastern Europe and Northern Africa. In the late 1980s, largely as a result of events such as the 1982 economic collapse and mass civil resistance in 1983–88. The government gradually permitted greater freedom of assembly, speech, and association, to include trade union and political activity. The government launched market-oriented reforms with Hernan Bucci as Minister of Finance. Chile moved toward a free market economy that saw an increase in domestic and foreign private investment, although the copper industry and other important mineral resources were not opened for competition. In a plebiscite on 5 October 1988, Pinochet was denied a second 8-year term as president, 56% against 44%. Chileans elected a new president and the majority of members of a bicameral Congress on 14 December 1989. Christian Democrat Patricio Aylwin, the candidate of a coalition of 17 political parties called the Concertación, received an absolute majority of votes, 55%. President Aylwin served from 1990 to 1994, in what was considered a transition period. 21st century. 5 presidents of Chile since transition to democracy, 1990 to 2018, celebrating the bicentennial of Chile. In December 1993, Christian Democrat Eduardo Frei Ruiz-Tagle, the son of previous President Eduardo Frei Montalva, led the Concertación coalition to victory with an absolute majority of votes, 58%. Frei Ruiz-Tagle was succeeded in 2000 by socialist Ricardo Lagos, who won the presidency in an unprecedented runoff election against Joaquin Lavín of the Rightist Alliance for Chile. In January 2006, Chileans elected their first female president, Michelle Bachelet Giria, of the Socialist Party, defeating Sebastián Piñera, of the National Renewal Party, extending the Concertación governance for another 4 years. In January 2010, Chileans elected Sebastián Piñera as the first rightist president in 20 years, defeating former President Eduardo Frei Ruiz-Tagle of the Concertación, for a 4-year term succeeding Bachelet. Due to term limits, Sebastián Piñera did not stand for re-election in 2013, and his term expired in March 2014, resulting in Michelle Bachelet returning to office. On the 27th of February 2010, Chile was struck by an 8.8 MW earthquake, the 5th largest ever recorded at the time. More than 500 people died, most from the ensuing tsunami, and over 1 million people lost their homes. The earthquake was also followed by multiple aftershocks. Initial damage estimates were in the range of $15 to 30 billion, around 10 to 15% of Chile's real gross domestic product. Chile achieved global recognition for the successful rescue of 33 trapped miners in 2010. On the 5th of August 2010, the access tunnel collapsed at the San Jose copper and gold mine in the Atacama Desert near Copiapó in northern Chile, trapping 33 men 700 meters, 2,300 feet, below ground. A rescue effort organized by the Chilean government located the miners 17 days later. All 33 men were brought to the surface 2 months later on the 13th of October 2010 over a period of almost 24 hours, an effort that was carried on live television around the world. Government and politics. The current constitution of Chile was approved in a national plebiscite, regarded as highly irregular by some observers, in September 1980. Under the military government of Augusto Pinochet, it entered into force in March 1981. After Pinochet's defeat in the 1988 plebiscite, the constitution was amended to ease provisions for future amendments to the constitution. In September 2005, President Ricardo Lagos signed into law several constitutional amendments passed by Congress. These include eliminating the positions of appointed senators and senators for life, granting the president authority to remove the commanders-in-chief of the armed forces, and reducing the presidential term from 6 to 4 years. The Congress of Chile has a 38-seat Senate and a 120-member Chamber of Deputies. Senators serve for 8 years with staggered terms, while deputies are elected every 4 years. The last congressional elections were held on the 17th of November 2013, concurrently with the presidential election. The current Senate has a 21-15 split in favor of the governing coalition and 2 independents. The current lower house, the Chamber of Deputies, contains 67 members of the governing centre-left coalition, 48 from the centre-right opposition and 5 from small parties or independents. The Congress is located in the port city of Valparaiso, about 140 kilometers, 87 miles, west of the capital, Santiago. Chile's congressional elections are governed by a binomial system that, for the most part, rewards the 2 largest representations equally, often regardless of their relative popular support. Parties are thus forced to form wide coalitions and, historically, the 2 largest coalitions, Concertación and Alianza, split most of the seats. Only if the leading coalition ticket outpolls the second-place coalition by a margin of more than 2-1 does the winning coalition gain both seats, which tends to lock the legislature in a roughly 50-50 split. Chile's judiciary is independent and includes a court of appeal, a system of military courts, a constitutional tribunal, and the Supreme Court of Chile. In June 2005, Chile completed a nationwide overhaul of its criminal justice system. The reform has replaced inquisitorial proceedings with an adversarial system more similar to that of the United States. In the 2001 congressional elections, the conservative Independent Democratic Union, UDE, surpassed the Christian Democrats for the first time to become the largest party in the lower house. In the 2005 parliamentary election, both leading parties, the Christian Democrats and the UDE, lost representation in favor of their respective allies Socialist Party, which became the biggest party in the Concertación bloc, and National Renewal in the right-wing alliance. In the 2009 legislative elections in Chile, the Communist Party won 3 out of 120 seats in the Chamber of Deputies for the first time in 30 years. The Communist Party was not allowed to exist as such during the dictatorship. Chileans voted in the first round of presidential elections on the 17th of November 2013. None of the 9 presidential candidates got more than 50% of the vote. As a result, the top 2 candidates, centre-left and Viva Mayoría coalition's Michelle Bachelet and centre-right Alianza coalition's Evelyn Matthei, competed in a runoff election on the 15th of December 2013. Which Bachelet won. This was Chile's 6th presidential election since the end of the Pinochet era. All 6 have been judged free and fair. The president is constitutionally barred from serving consecutive terms. Foreign relations. Since the early decades after independence, Chile has always had an active involvement in foreign affairs. In 1837 the country aggressively challenged the dominance of Peru's port of Callao for preeminence in the Pacific trade routes, defeating the short-lived alliance between Peru and Bolivia, the Peru-Bolivian Confederation, 1836–39, in the War of the Confederation. The war dissolved the Confederation while distributing power in the Pacific. A second international war, the War of the Pacific, 1879–83, further increased Chile's regional role, while adding considerably to its territory. During the 19th century, Chile's commercial ties were primarily with Britain, a nation that had a major influence on the formation of the Chilean Navy. The French influenced Chile's legal and educational systems and had a decisive impact on Chile, through the architecture of the capital in the boom years at the turn of the 20th century. German influence came from the organization and training of the army by Prussians. On the 26th of June 1945, Chile participated as a founding member of the United Nations, being among 50 countries that signed the United Nations Charter in San Francisco, California. With the military coup of 1973, Chile became isolated politically as a result of widespread human rights abuses. Since its return to democracy in 1990, Chile has been an active participant in the international political arena. Chile completed a 2-year non-permanent position on the UN Security Council in January 2005. José Miguel Insulza, a Chilean national, was elected Secretary General of the Organization of American States in May 2005 and confirmed in his position. being re-elected in 2009. Chile is currently serving on the International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA) Board of Governors, and the 2007 to 2008 chair of the board is Chile's ambassador to the IAEA, Milnko Iskonik. The country is an active member of the UN family of agencies and participates in UN peacekeeping activities. It was re-elected as a member of the UN Human Rights Council in 2011 for a 3-year term. It was also elected to one of 5 non-permanent seats on the UN Security Council in 2013. Chile hosted the Defense Ministerial of the Americas in 2002 and the Apex Summit and related meetings in 2004. It also hosted the Community of Democracies Ministerial in April 2005 and the Ibero-American Summit in November 2007. An associate member of Mercosur and a full member of APEC, Chile has been a major player in international economic issues and hemispheric free trade border disputes with Peru. There have been long arguments between Chileans and Peruvians since the 1800s because they both claim boundary coastal lines. Peruvians claim the northern part of Chile, which is now southwest of Peru. This also known as the triangulation, which was made to fix the boundary problem between Chile and Peru. The decisions were accomplished on January 27, 1839 by the International Court of Justice. This became the War of the Pacific, which was in the years 1879 to 1883. This was caused by the mineral resources Chile had, making Peruvians believe it belonged to them as well. Chile had to control sea shipping to Peru and send out an army to invade Peru on October 8, 1879. The attempt was also made to the United States but failed badly on October 1880. There was a resistance between Peruvians and Chileans for a few years because they couldn't agree. The United States offered help with the treaty for both Peru and Chile, better known as the Treaty of Ancón. This was later signed by both of them on October 20, 1883 to keep peace between them. In 2008, Peru took Chile to court over their maritime disputes. Then later in 2014, the International Court of Justice's ruling resulted in Chile losing 80 miles from northwestern ocean zone. This ruling severely impacted fishers in the country, making Chile lose a valuable trade in northwest Chile. The Chilean government has diplomatic relations with most countries. It settled all its territorial disputes with Argentina during the 1990s except for part of the border at southern Patagonian ice field. Chile and Bolivia severed diplomatic ties in 1978 over Bolivia's desire to regain sovereign access to the Pacific Ocean after its loss to Chile in 1879-83 War of the Pacific. The two countries maintain consular relations and are represented at the consul general level. Administrative divisions. In 1978, Chile was administratively divided into regions, and in 1979 subdivided into provinces and these into communes. In total, the country has 16 regions, 56 provinces and 348 communes. Each region is designated by a name and a Roman numeral assigned from north to south, except for the Santiago Metropolitan Region, which does not have a number. The creation of 2 new regions in 2007, Arica and Parinacota, 15, and Los Rios, 14, and a third region in 2018, Nubble, 16, made this numbering lose its original order meaning. 1 Santiago Metropolis 5,428,590. 2 Greater Valparaiso 803,683. 3 Greater Concepcion 666,381. 4 Greater Lane Serena 296,253. 5 Antofagasta 285,255. 6 Greater Temuco 260,878. 7 Rancagua 236,363. 8 Talca 191,154. 9 Arica 175,441. 10 Chillán 165,528. National symbols. The national flower is the copiu, Leipageria rossi, Chilean bellflower, which grows in the woods of southern Chile. The coat of arms depicts the 2 national animals, the condor, Vultur gryphus, a very large bird that lives in the mountains, and the mule, Hippocamelus bisulcus, an endangered white-tailed deer. It also has the legend por la razón o la fuerza, by reason or by force. The flag of Chile consists of two equal horizontal bands of white, top, and red. There is a blue square the same height as the white band at the hoist side end of the white band. The square bears a white five-pointed star in the center representing a guide to progress and honor. Blue symbolizes the sky, white is for the snow-covered Andes, and red stands for the blood spilled to achieve independence. The flag of Chile is similar to the flag of Texas, although the Chilean flag is 21 years older. However, like the Texan flag, the flag of Chile is modeled after the flag of the United States military. The armed forces of Chile are subject to civilian control exercised by the president through the Minister of Defense. The president has the authority to remove the commanders-in-chief of the armed forces. The commander-in-chief of the Chilean army is General Humberto of Erigada. The Chilean army is 45,000 strong and is organized with an army headquarters in Santiago, 6 divisions throughout its territory, an air brigade in Rancagua, and a special forces command in Colina. The Chilean army is one of the most professional and technologically advanced armies in Latin America. Admiral Julio Livan Molina directs around 25,000-person Chilean navy, including 2,500 marines. Of the fleet of 29 surface vessels, only 8 are operational major combatants, frigates. Those ships are based in Valparaiso. The Navy operates its own aircraft for transport and patrol. There are no Navy fighter or bomber aircraft. The Navy also operates 4 submarines based in Talcahuano. Air Force General, 4-star, Jorge Rogers of La heads the 12,500-strong Chilean Air Force. Air assets are distributed among 5 air brigades headquartered in Iquique, Antofagasta, Santiago, Puerto Montt, and Punta Arenas. The Air Force also operates an airbase on King George Island, Antarctica. The Air Force took delivery of the final 2 of 10 F-16s, all purchased from the U.S., in March 2007 after several decades of U.S. debate and previous refusal to sell. Chile also took delivery in 2007 of a number of reconditioned Block 15 F-16s from the Netherlands, bringing to 18 the total of F-16s purchased from the Dutch. After the military coup in September 1973, the Chilean National Police, Carabineros, were incorporated into the Defense Ministry. With the return of democratic government, the police were placed under the operational control of the Interior Ministry but remained under the nominal control of the Defense Ministry. Gen. Gustavo González Jury is the head of the National Police Force of 40,964 men and women who are responsible for law enforcement, traffic management, narcotics suppression, border control, and counterterrorism throughout Chile. Geography, climate, and environment. A long and narrow coastal southern cone country on the west side of the Andes Mountains, Chile stretches over 4,300 kilometers, 2,670 miles, north to south, but only 350 kilometers, 217 miles, at its widest point east to west. This encompasses a remarkable variety of climates and landscapes. It contains 756,950 square kilometers, 292,260 square miles, of land area. It is situated within the Pacific Ring of Fire. Excluding its Pacific Islands and Antarctic claim, Chile lies between latitudes 17 degrees and 56 degrees S, and longitudes 66 degrees and 75 degrees W. Chile is among the longest north-south countries in the world. If one considers only mainland territory, Chile is unique within this group in its narrowness from east to west, with the other long north-south countries, including Brazil, Russia, Canada, and the United States, among others, all being wider from east to west by a factor of more than 10. Chile also claims 1,250,000 square kilometers, 480,000 square miles, of Antarctica as part of its territory, Chilean Antarctic Territory. However, this latter claim is suspended under the terms of the Antarctic Treaty, of which Chile is a signatory. It is the world's southernmost country that is geographically on the mainland. Chile controls Easter Island and Sala y Gomez Island, the easternmost islands of Polynesia, which it incorporated to its territory in 1888, and Robinson Crusoe Island, more than 600 kilometers, 370 miles, from the mainland, in the Juan Fernandez Islands. Also controlled but only temporarily inhabited, by some local fishermen, are the small islands of San Ambrosio and San Felix. These islands are notable because they extend Chile's claim to territorial waters out from its coast into the Pacific Ocean. The northern Atacama Desert contains great mineral wealth, primarily copper and nitrates. The relatively small Central Valley, which includes Santiago, dominates the country in terms of population and agricultural resources. This area is also the historical center from which Chile expanded in the late 19th century, when it integrated the northern and southern regions. Southern Chile is rich in forests, grazing lands, and features a string of volcanoes and lakes. The southern coast is a labyrinth of fjords, inlets, canals, twisting peninsulas, and islands. The Andes Mountains are located on the eastern border. Climate. The diverse climate of Chile ranges from the world's driest desert in the north, the Atacama Desert, through a Mediterranean climate in the center, humid subtropical in Easter Island, to an oceanic climate, including alpine tundra and glaciers in the east and south. According to the Köppen system, Chile within its borders hosts at least 10 major climatic subtypes. There are 4 seasons in most of the country: summer, December to February; autumn, March to May; winter, June to August; and spring, September to November. Biodiversity. The flora and fauna of Chile are characterized by a high degree of endemism, due to its particular geography. In continental Chile, the Atacama Desert in the north and the Andes Mountains to the east are barriers that have led to the isolation of flora and fauna. Add to that the enormous length of Chile, over 4,300 kilometers, 2,672 miles, and this results in a wide range of climates and environments that can be divided into 3 general zones: the desert provinces of the north, central Chile, and the humid regions of the south. Flora and fauna. Araucaria araucana trees in Cangalillo National Park. The native flora of Chile consists of relatively fewer species compared to the flora of other South American countries. The northernmost coastal and central region is largely barren of vegetation, approaching the most absolute desert in the world. On the slopes of the Andes, in addition to the scattered tiller desert brush, grasses are found. The Central Valley is characterized by several species of cacti, the hardy espinos, the Chilean pine, the southern beeches and the copiu, a red bell-shaped flower that is Chile's national flower. In southern Chile, south of the Bio River, heavy precipitation has produced dense forests of laurels, magnolias, and various species of conifers and beeches, which become smaller and more stunted to the south. The cold temperatures and winds of the extreme south preclude heavy forestation. Grassland is found in Atlantic Chile, in Patagonia. Much of the Chilean flora is distinct from that of neighboring Argentina, indicating that the Andean barrier existed during its formation. Some of Chile's flora has an Antarctic origin due to land bridges which formed during the Cretaceous ice ages, allowing plants to migrate from Antarctica to South America. Just over 3,000 species of fungi are recorded in Chile, but this number is far from complete. The true total number of fungal species occurring in Chile is likely to be far higher, given the generally accepted estimates that only about 7% of all fungi worldwide have so far been discovered. Although the amount of available information is still very small, a first effort has been made to estimate the number of fungal species endemic to Chile, and 1995 species have been tentatively identified as possible endemics of the country. Chile's geographical isolation has restricted the immigration of faunal life, so that only a few of the many distinctive South American animals are found. Among the larger mammals are the puma or cougar, the llama-like guanaco and the fox-like chilla. In the forest region, several types of marsupials and a small deer known as the pudu are found. There are many species of small birds, but most of the larger common Latin American types are absent. Few freshwater fish are native, but North American trout have been successfully introduced into the Andean lakes. Owing to the vicinity of the Humboldt Current, ocean waters abound with fish and other forms of marine life, which in turn support a rich variety of waterfowl, including several penguins. Whales are abundant, and some 6 species of seals are found in the area. Topography. Chile is located along a highly seismic and volcanic zone, part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, due to the subduction of the Nazca and Antarctic plates in the South American plate. Late Paleozoic, 251 million years ago, Chile belonged to the continental block called Gondwana. It was just a depression. Accumulated marine sediments began to rise at the end of the Mesozoic, 66 million years ago, due to the collision between the Nazca and South American plates, resulting in the Andes. The territory would be shaped by millions of years due to the folding of the rocks, forming the current relief. The Chilean relief consists of the Central Depression, which crosses the country longitudinally, flanked by 2 mountain ranges that make up about 80% of the territory. The Andes Mountains to the east, natural border with Bolivia and Argentina in the region of Atacama, and the coastal range west, minor height from the Andes. Chile's highest peak is the Nevado Ajos del Salado, at 6,891.3 meters, which is also the highest volcano in the world. The highest point of the coastal range is Vicuna Mackenna, at 3,114 meters, located in the Sierra Vicuna Mackenna, the south of Antofagasta. Among the coastal mountains in the Pacific is a series of coastal plains, of variable length, which allow the settlement of coastal towns and big ports. Some areas of the plains territories encompass territory east of the Andes, and the Patagonian Steppes and Magellan, or are high plateaus surrounded by high mountain ranges, such as the Altiplano or Puna de Atacama. The far north is the area between the northern boundary of the country and the parallel 26 degrees S, covering the first 3 regions. It is characterized by the presence of the Atacama Desert, the most arid in the world. The desert is fragmented by streams that originate in the area known as the Pampas de Marugal. The Andes, split in 2 and whose eastern arm runs Bolivia, has a high altitude and volcanic activity, which has allowed the formation of the Andean altiplano and salt structures as the Salar do Atacama, due to the gradual accumulation of sediments over time. Osorno volcano and the Petrojillo River. To the south is the Norte Chico, extending to the Aconcagua River. Los Andes begin to decrease its altitude to the south and closer to the coast, reaching 90 kilometers away at the height of Illapel, the narrowest part of the Chilean territory. The 2 mountain ranges intersect, virtually eliminating the intermediate depression. The existence of rivers flowing through the territory allows the formation of transverse valleys, where agriculture has developed strongly in recent times, while the coastal plains begin to expand. The central area is the most populated region of the country. The coastal plains are wide and allow the establishment of cities and ports along the Pacific. The Andes maintains altitudes above 6,000 meters but descent slowly starts approaching the 4,000 meters on average. The intermediate depression reappears, becoming a fertile valley that allows agricultural development and human settlement, due to sediment accumulation. To the south, the Cordillera de la Costa reappears in the range of Nayel Butte, while glacial sediments originate a series of lakes in the area of La Frontera. Patagonia extends from within Reloncaví, at the height of parallel 41 degrees S, to the south. During the last glaciation, this area was covered by ice that strongly eroded Chilean relief structures. As a result, the intermediate depression sinks in the sea, while the coastal mountains rise to a series of archipelagos, such as Chiloé and the Chonos, disappearing in Taitao Peninsula, in the parallel 47 degrees S. The Andes mountain range loses height, and erosion caused by the action of glaciers has caused fjords. East of the Andes, on the continent, or north of it, On the island of Tierra del Fuego are located relatively flat plains, which in the Strait of Magellan cover large areas. The Andes, as he had done previously Cordillera de la Costa, begins to break in the ocean, causing a myriad of islands and islets and disappear into it, sinking and reappearing in the southern Antilles arc and then the Antarctic Peninsula, where it is called Antarctans, in the Chilean Antarctic Territory, lying between the meridians 53 degrees W and 90 degrees W. In the middle of the Pacific, the country has sovereignty over several islands of volcanic origin, collectively known as Insula Chile. Of these, we highlight the archipelago of Juan Fernandez and Easter Island, which is located in the fracture zone between the Nazca Plate and the Pacific Plate known as East Pacific Rise. Hydrography. Due to the characteristics of the territory, Chile is crossed by numerous rivers generally short in length and with low torrential flow. They commonly extend from the Andes to the Pacific Ocean, flowing in an east to west. Because of the Atacama Desert, in the Norte Grande there are only short endorheic character streams, except for the Low River, the longest in the country 440 kilometers. In the high valleys, wetland areas generate Chungara Lake, located at 4,500 meters above sea level. It and the Lauca River are shared with Bolivia, as well as the Luta River. In the center north of the country, the number of rivers that form valleys of agricultural importance increases. Noteworthy are the Elqui with 75 kilometers long, 142 kilometers Aconcagua, Maipo with 250 kilometers and its tributary, the Mapocho with 110 kilometers, and Maule with 240 kilometers. Their waters mainly flow from Andean snowmelt in the summer and winter rains. The major lakes in this area are the artificial Lake Ripple, the Colbún-Maule Lagoon and the Lagoon of La Larga. Demographics. Chile's 2017 census reported a population of 17,574,003. Its rate of population growth has been decreasing since 1990, due to a declining birth rate. By 2050 the population is expected to reach approximately 20.2 million people. About 85% of the country's population lives in urban areas, with 40% living in Greater Santiago. The largest agglomerations according to the 2002 census are Greater Santiago with 5.6 million people, Greater Concepción with 861,000 and Greater Valparaiso with 824,000. Ancestry and ethnicity. Mapuche women of Tairua. A 2002 national poll revealed that a majority of Chileans believed they possessed some, 43.4%, or much, 8.3%, indigenous blood, while 40.3% responded that they had none. The 1907 census reported 101,118 natives, or 3.1% of the total population. Only those that practiced their native culture or spoke their native language were considered to be natives, irrespective of their racial purity. In 2002 a census took place, directly asking the public whether they considered themselves as part of any of the 8 Chilean ethnic groups, regardless of whether or not they maintained their culture, traditions and language, and 4.6% of the population, 692,192 people, fitted the description of indigenous peoples in Chile. Of that number, 87.3% declared themselves Mapuche. Most of the indigenous population shows varying degrees of mixed ancestry. Chile is one of 22 countries to have signed and ratified the only binding international law concerning indigenous peoples, the Indigenous and Tribal Peoples Convention, 1989. It was adopted in 1989 as the International Labour Organization, ILO. Convention 169. Chile ratified it in 2008. A Chilean court decision in November 2009 considered to be a landmark ruling on indigenous rights and made use of the convention. The Supreme Court decision on Aymara water rights upheld rulings by both the Pozo Armenti Tribunal and the Iquique Court of Appeals, and marks the first judicial application of ILO Convention 169 in Chile. Chile was never a particularly attractive destination for migrants, owing to its remoteness and distance from Europe. Europeans preferred to stay in countries closer to their homelands instead of taking the long journey through the Straits of Magellan or crossing the Andes. European migration did not result in a significant change in the ethnic composition of Chile, except in the region of Magellan. Spaniards were the only major European migrant group to Chile, and there was never large-scale immigration such as that to Argentina or Uruguay. Between 1851 and 1924, Chile only received 0.5% of European immigration to Latin America, compared to 46% to Argentina, 33% to Brazil, 14% to Cuba, and 4% to Uruguay. However, it is undeniable that immigrants have played a significant role in Chilean society. Other groups of Europeans have followed but are found in smaller numbers, like the descendants of Austrians and Dutch people. Currently, these are estimated at about 50,000 people. After the failed liberal revolution of 1848 in the German states, a noticeable German immigration took place, laying the foundation for the German Chilings. Sponsored by the Chilean government to unbarbarize and colonize the southern region, these Germans, notably the Swiss, Silesians, Alsatians and Austrians, settled mainly in Valdivia, Osorno and Lanquihue. Descendants of different European ethnic groups often intermarried in Chile. This intermarriage and mixture of cultures and races have helped to shape the present society and culture of the Chilean middle and upper classes. Due in part to its economic fortunes, Chile has recently become a new magnet for immigrants, mostly from neighboring Argentina, Bolivia and mainly Peru. According to the 2002 national census, Chile's foreign-born population has increased by 75% since 1992. According to an estimate by the Migration and Foreign Residency Department, 317,057 foreigners were living in Chile as of December 2008. Roughly 500,000 of Chile's population is of full or partial Palestinian origin. Religious background in Chile. 2015. Roman Catholic, $55%, none, $25%, Protestant, $13%, other, $7%. As of 2012, 66.6% of Chilean population over 15 years of age claimed to adhere to the Roman Catholic Church, a decrease from the 70% reported in the 2002 census. In the same census of 2012, 17% of Chileans reported adherence to an evangelical church. Evangelical in the census referred to all Christian denominations other than the Roman Catholic and Orthodox, Greek, Persian, Serbian, Ukrainian, and Armenian churches, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or Mormons, Seventh-day Adventists, and Jehovah's Witnesses, essentially, those denominations generally still termed Protestant in most English-speaking lands, although Adventism is often considered an evangelical denomination as well. Approximately 90% of evangelical Christians are Pentecostal. But Wesleyan, Lutheran, Anglican, Episcopalian, Presbyterian, other Reformed, Baptist, and Methodist churches also are present amongst Chilean evangelical churches. Irreligious people, atheists, and agnostics account for around 12% of the population. By 2015, the major religion in Chile remained Christianity, 68%, with an estimated 55% of Chileans belonging to the Roman Catholic Church, 13% to various evangelical churches, and just 7% adhering to any other religion. Agnostics and atheists were estimated at 25% of the population. Chile has a Bahá'í religious community, and is home to the Mother Temple of the Baha'is for Latin America, which was completed in 2016 and has been described as futuristic and translucent in its architectural style. The Constitution guarantees the right to freedom of religion, and other laws and policies contribute to generally free religious practice. The law at all levels fully protects this right against abuse by either governmental or private actors. Church and state are officially separate in Chile. A 1999 law on religion prohibits religious discrimination. However, The Roman Catholic Church, for mostly historical and social reasons, enjoys a privileged status and occasionally receives preferential treatment. Government officials attend Roman Catholic events as well as major evangelical and Jewish ceremonies. The Chilean government treats the religious holidays of Christmas, Good Friday, the Feast of the Virgin of Carmen, the Feast of Saints Peter and Paul, the Feast of the Assumption, All Saints' Day, and the Feast of the Immaculate Conception as national holidays. Recently, the government declared 31 October, Reformation Day, to be an additional national holiday, in honor of the evangelical churches of the country. The patron saints of Chile are Our Lady of Mount Carmel and St. James the Greater, Santiago. In 2005, Pope Benedict XVI canonized Alberto Hurtado, who became the country's second native Roman Catholic saint after Teresa de los Andes. Languages. The Spanish spoken in Chile is distinctively accented and quite unlike that of neighboring South American countries because final syllables are often dropped, and some consonants have a soft pronunciation. Accent varies only very slightly from north to south. More noticeable are the differences in accent based on social class or whether one lives in the city or the country. That the Chilean population was largely formed in a small section at the center of the country and then migrated in modest numbers to the north and south helps explain this relative lack of differentiation, which was maintained by the national reach of radio, and now television, which also helps to diffuse and homogenize colloquial expressions. There are several indigenous languages spoken in Chile: Mapudungun, Quechua, Aymara and Rapa Nui. After the Spanish invasion, Spanish took over as the lingua franca and the indigenous languages have become minority languages, with some now extinct or close to extinction. German is still spoken to some extent in southern Chile, either in small countryside pockets or as a second language among the communities of larger cities. Through initiatives such as the English Opens Doors program, the government made English mandatory for students in 5th grade and above in public schools. Most private schools in Chile start teaching English from kindergarten. Common English words have been absorbed and appropriated into everyday Spanish speech. Education. In Chile, education begins with preschool until the age of 5. Primary school is provided for children between ages 6 and 13. Students then attend secondary school until graduation at age 17. Secondary education is divided into two parts. During the first 2 years, students receive a general education. Then, they choose a branch: scientific humanistic education, artistic education, or technical and professional education. Secondary school ends 2 years later on the acquirement of a certificate, Licenciado en Enseñanza Media. Chilean education is segregated by wealth in a three-tiered system. The quality of the schools reflects socioeconomic backgrounds: city schools, colegios municipals, that are mostly free and have the worst education results, mostly attended by poor students; subsidized schools that receive some money from the government which can be supplemented by fees paid by the student's family, which are attended by mid-income students and typically get mid-level results; and entirely private schools that consistently get the best results. Many private schools charge attendance fees of 0,5 to 1 median household incomes. Upon successful graduation of secondary school, students may continue into higher education. The higher education schools in Chile consist of Chilean traditional universities and are divided into public universities or private universities. There are medical schools and both the Universidad de Chile and Universidad Diego Portales offer law schools in a partnership with Yale University. Health. FONASU is the funding branch of the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health, MINSAL, is the cabinet-level administrative office in charge of planning, directing, coordinating, executing, controlling and informing the public health policies formulated by the President of Chile. The National Health Fund, FONASA, created in 1979, is the financial entity entrusted to collect, manage and distribute state funds for health in Chile. It is funded by the public. All employees pay 7% of their monthly income to the fund. FONASU is part of the NHSS and has executive power through the Ministry of Health. Chile. Its headquarters are in Santiago and decentralized public services conducted by various regional offices. More than 12 million beneficiaries benefit from FONASA. Beneficiaries can also opt for more costly private insurance through ISAPA. Hospitals in Chile are mainly located in the Santiago metropolitan region. Economy. The Central Bank of Chile in Santiago serves as the central bank for the country. The Chilean currency is the Chilean peso, CLP. Chile is one of South America's most stable and prosperous nations, leading Latin American nations in human development, competitiveness, income per capita, globalization, economic freedom, and low perception of corruption. Since July 2013, Chile is considered by the World Bank as a high-income economy. Chile has the highest degree of economic freedom in South America, ranking 7th worldwide, owing to its independent and efficient judicial system and prudent public finance management. In May 2010, Chile became the first South American country to join the ECT. In 2006, Chile became the country with the highest nominal GDP per capita in Latin America. Copper mining makes up 20% of Chilean GDP and 60% of exports. Escondida is the largest copper mine in the world, producing over 5% of global supplies. Overall, Chile produces a third of the world's copper. Codelco, the state mining firm, competes with private ones. Sound economic policies, maintained consistently since the 1980s, have contributed to steady economic growth in Chile and have more than halved poverty rates. Chile began to experience a moderate economic downturn in 1999. The economy remained sluggish until 2003, when it began to show clear signs of recovery, achieving 4.0% GDP growth. The Chilean economy finished 2004 with growth of 6%. Real GDP growth reached 5.7% in 2005 before falling back to 4% in 2006. GDP expanded by 5% in 2007. Faced with an international economic downturn, the government announced an economic stimulus plan to spur employment and growth, and despite the global financial crisis, aimed for an expansion of between 2% and 3% of GDP for 2009. Nonetheless, economic analysts disagreed with government estimates and predicted economic growth at a median of 1.5%. Real GDP growth in 2012 was 5.5%. Growth slowed to 4.1% in the first quarter of 2013. The unemployment rate was 6.4% in April 2013. There are reported labor shortages in agriculture, mining, and construction. The percentage of Chileans with per capita household incomes below the poverty line, defined as twice the cost of satisfying a person's minimal nutritional needs, fell from 45.1% in 1987 to 11.5% in 2009, according to government surveys. Critics in Chile, however, argue that true poverty figures are considerably higher than those officially published. Using the relative yardstick favored in many European countries, 27% of Chileans would be poor, according to Juan Carlos Fears of the ICLAC. As of November 2012, about 11.1 million people, 64% of the population, benefit from government welfare programs, via the Social Protection Card, which includes the population living in poverty and those at risk of falling into poverty. The privatized National Pension System, AFP, has encouraged domestic investment and contributed to an estimated total domestic savings rate of approximately 21% of GDP. Under the compulsory private pension system, most formal sector employees pay 10% of their salaries into privately managed funds. However, by 2009, it has been reported that had been lost from the pension system to the global financial crisis. Chile has signed free trade agreements, FTAs, with a whole network of countries, including an FTA with the United States that was signed in 2003 and implemented in January 2004. Internal government of Chile figures show that even when factoring out inflation and the recent high price of copper, Bilateral trade between the US and Chile has grown over 60% since then. Chile's total trade with China reached US in 2006, representing nearly 66% of the value of its trade relationship with Asia. Exports to Asia increased from US in 2005 to US in 2006. A 29.9% increase. Year-on-year growth in imports was especially strong from a number of countries: Ecuador, 123.9%, Thailand, 72.1%, South Korea, 52.6%, and China, 36.9%. Chile's approach to foreign direct investment is codified in the country's foreign investment law. Registration is reported to be simple and transparent, and foreign investors are guaranteed access to the official foreign exchange market to repatriate their profits and capital. The Chilean government has formed a Council on Innovation and Competition, hoping to bring in additional FDI to new parts of the economy. Standard & Poor's gives Chile a credit rating of AA. The government of Chile continues to pay down its foreign debt, with public debt only 3.9% of GDP at the end of 2006. The Chilean central government is a net creditor with a net asset position of 7% of GDP at end 2012. The current account deficit was 4% in the first quarter of 2013. Financed mostly by foreign direct investment. 14% of central government revenue came directly from copper in 2012. Agriculture. Agriculture in Chile encompasses a wide range of different activities due to its particular geography, climate and geology and human factors. Historically, agriculture is one of the bases of Chile's economy. Now agriculture and allied sectors like forestry, logging and fishing account for only 4.9% of the GDP as of 2007 and employ 13.6% of the country's labor force. Some major agriculture products of Chile include grapes, apples, pears, onions, wheat, corn, oats, peaches, garlic, asparagus, beans, beef, poultry, wool, fish, timber and hemp. Due to its geographical isolation and strict customs policies, Chile is free from diseases such as mad cow disease, fruit fly and phylloxera. Its location in the southern hemisphere, which has quite different harvesting times from the northern hemisphere, and its wide range of agriculture conditions are considered Chile's main comparative advantages. However, Chile's mountainous landscape limits the extent and intensity of agriculture so that arable land corresponds only to 2.62% of the total territory. Chile currently utilizes 14,015 hectares of agricultural land. Tourism. Tourism in Chile has experienced sustained growth over the last few decades. In 2005, tourism grew by 13.6%. Generating more than $4.5 billion, of which $1.5 billion was attributed to foreign tourists. According to the National Service of Tourism, SNATUR, 2 million people a year visit the country. Most of these visitors come from other countries in the American continent, mainly Argentina, followed by a growing number from the United States, Europe, and Brazil, with a growing number of Asians from South Korea and PR China. The main attractions for tourists are places of natural beauty situated in the extreme zones of the country. San Pedro de Atacama, in the north, is very popular with foreign tourists who arrive to admire the Incaic architecture, the Altiplano lakes, and the Valley of the Moon. In Putre, also in the north, there is the Chungara Lake, as well as the Parinacocha and the Pomerape volcanoes, with altitudes of 6,348 meters and 6,282 meters, respectively. Throughout the Central Andes there are many ski resorts of international repute, including Portillo, Valnevedo and Termas de Chillán. The main tourist sites in the south are national parks. The most popular is Cangalillo National Park in the Araucania, and the coastal area around Tairua and Canete, with the Isla Mocha and the Nealbuta National Park, Chiloé Archipelago and Patagonia, which includes Laguna San Rafael National Park, with its many glaciers, and the Torres del Paine National Park. The central port city of Valparaiso, which is World Heritage with its unique architecture, is also popular. Finally, Easter Island in the Pacific Ocean is one of the main Chilean tourist destinations. For locals, tourism is concentrated mostly in the summer, December to March, and mainly in the coastal beach towns. Arica, Iquique, Antofagasta, La Serena and Coquimbo are the main summer centers in the north, and Pucón on the shores of Lake Villarica is the main center in the south. Because of its proximity to Santiago, the coast of the Valparaiso region, with its many beach resorts, receives the largest number of tourists. Vina del Mar, Valparaiso's northern affluent neighbor, is popular because of its beaches, casino, and its annual song festival, the most important musical event in Latin America. Pichilemu in the O'Higgins region is widely known as South America's best surfing spot according to Fodors. In November 2005 the government launched a campaign under the brand Chile, Always Surprising, intended to promote the country internationally for both business and tourism. Museums in Chile such as the Chilean National Museum of Fine Arts, built in 1880, feature works by Chilean artists. Chile is home to the world-renowned Patagonian Trail that resides on the border between Argentina and Chile. Chile recently launched a massive scenic route for tourism in hopes of encouraging development based on conservation. The route of parks covers 1,740 miles and was designed Tompkin Conservation. Founders Douglas Tompkins and wife Christine. Infrastructure. Transport. Due to Chile's topography, a functioning transport network is vital to its economy. Buses are now the main means of long-distance transportation in Chile, following the decline of its railway network. The bus system covers the entire country, from Arica to Santiago, a 30-hour journey, and from Santiago to Punta Arenas, about 40 hours. With a change at Osorno. Santiago Metro is South America's most extensive metro system. Chile has a total of 372 runways, 62 paved and 310 unpaved. Important airports in Chile include Chacolito International Airport, Arica, Diego Aroceno International Airport, Iquique, Andrés Sabella Galvez International Airport, Antofagasta, Carriel Sur International Airport, Concepción, El Tepual International Airport, Puerto Montt, Presidente Carlos Ibáñez del Campo International Airport, Punta Arenas, La Araucanía International Airport, Temuco, Matavari International Airport, Easter Island, the most remote airport in the world, and the Comodoro Arturo Merino Benitez International Airport, Santiago, with a traffic of 12,105,524 passengers in 2011. Santiago is headquarters of Latin America's largest airline holding company and Chilean flag carrier LAN Airlines. Telecommunications. Chile has a telecommunication system which covers much of the country, including Chilean insular and Antarctic bases. Privatization of the telephone system began in 1988. Chile has one of the most advanced telecommunications infrastructure in South America, with a modern system based on extensive microwave radio relay facilities and domestic satellite system with 3 Earth stations. In 2012, there were 3.276 million main lines in use and 24